this letter I received from one of you guys hit home with me. Antonio, I'm 50 years old and struggling with confidence. I once felt a strong sense of purpose and direction, but recent challenges like COVID, job loss, and societal shifts have left me uncertain of my identity and place in this world. Despite my efforts to take courses and joining groups, I face continuous rejection in the job market due to my age. I even reached a point where I was so broke that I had to borrow money from my son. I've heard the advice that I am in control of my own destiny, but man, I feel trapped by my circumstances. Honestly, I'm just feeling overwhelmed and I'm tempted to withdraw and avoid societal judgments. Antonio, please give me some advice. Sincerely, TM. So first up, TM, thank you for reaching out. And I want to let you guys know the actual letter he wrote me was well over 1,000 words. He gave me a lot more detail. One important point that he did mention that I kind of inferred from the letter is that he raised his son by himself, a single dad. And he did it also when he was a young man. He was probably in his early 20s when he had his boy. He also shared with me he's taken a lot of courses online, offline. He's been spending money. He's trying to improve himself, but he just can't seem to get a foothold with anything. TM, I want to congratulate you on being a good dad. I mean, you think about important things in life. The relationship that you've got with your son is obviously good enough that he is loaning you money. There's a lot of people I know that have done incredibly well money-wise, and they have no talking relationship with their kids. Their kids hate them. On top of that, you haven't given up. In fact, your story is not even close to being finished. And that's what I'm going to challenge you here, is to reframe everything you said and look at this as a movie. If this was going to be the movie of your life, yeah, this is the part when in the hero's journey, when you are down, when things are not looking great. But what happens in a great story? What do we know that the hero does? He finds a way to overcome. He finds salvation. He doesn't always, there are the tragic stories. He doesn't always get to where he was, but he reaches a point, and all of us can find a way to reach this point. So TM, if you reframe your story as, hey, you are the hero. This is just part of your story. This is the down part. You are going to recover. You're going to find a way to be able to repay your son. And it may not even be money. It just may be you going to work for him. You may be starting a business that you can do with him. You being able to find a way to be able to step back up to the plate and give it another shot. Because TM, what I love about you is you're not giving up. You aren't a quitter. You're showing me right here that, hey, you are willing to be humble. You're trying tons of things. Guess what? Your luck may not have shown yet, but this hardship, this trial is going to forge you into the man you know yourself to be. Life is going to get better after high school, after college, after you get that job that starts paying you $100,000, after you have a family, after you have kids. It can be great, but there is no guarantee life is going to be better. And if you're waiting for the goodness to happen to you, you're going to be waiting a long time. Now, the seminal book on this subject is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. He's got an amazing story. He was a psychiatrist sent to a Nazi concentration camp. In a nutshell, what he talks about is it's our response to life that enables us to find meaning in it. So if you're just waiting for happiness to come to you because of a situation, because of an achievement, because of where you're at in your life, that you've got a family now around you, guys, you're sorely mistaken. You've got to go out there and build the happiness. You've got to build the situation, the relationships that are going to bring you this happiness that you so much want. So looking back, I think the one thing that really saved me from having any issues with abandonment is I never blamed myself for this. And a big part of this is I had the support of my older sister, Lisa, because she called my dad out on this immediately, cut off contact, and was talking with us and saying, it wasn't our fault. And that always stuck with me. Maybe I was pretty mature for my age, but I could see that, hey, he was making the stupid choice here. This was his decision. And I do know if I had gone down that path about feeling it was my fault, it probably would have been a lot worse for me, a lot darker, because I have to say for my younger sister, this was something that she carried with her, and she felt, because I think, sorry, the witch, I'm not going to use names here, but she does have one. And looking back, that's the thing that really upsets me, is you had a grown woman putting the blame on a 12-year-old girl. And for the rest of her life, till she died of suicide at age 31, my sister had issues with, I think, men abandoning her, or the perception that they would, or that she was never good enough. And on a side note, with our local friends here, I have seen this repeat itself. And it just pisses me off when I see adults behaving like children. And again, with this one woman in particular, I told my wife, we are not going to be hanging out with her. She's not the kind of person I want to be around. But getting back to not blaming yourself, that's something I think a lot of guys need to ask themselves if they've got issues with this. And by the way, I know women watch this as well. So if you're a woman, sorry, normally I talk to guys, but understand it is not your fault. Your dad, your mom, whoever abandoned you, understand that it was their decision. It was their choice. You didn't do anything wrong, especially if you were a kid. Once you start saying that things are out of my control, that I have no ability to change the path I'm on, I think that that's when the victim mentality starts to grab around us. I want you to try to reframe and think, I'm not a victim. I am a survivor. Now, I'm defining responsibility here as taking charge of one's actions and their impact on both personal and community levels. So basically, we've got personal responsibility and then responsibility for your community, for your environment, for the situation around you. Yeah, at a very early age and quickly, a lot of us learn personal responsibility because other people, brothers and sisters especially, are keeping us in check. That being said, there are people out there that make it into their 20s, even their 30s, that don't understand this whole personal responsibility thing. Yeah, I'm sure some of you guys can let us know in the comments you've had a pretty bad roommate, or some of you guys that even work in the legal system, you see actually where this is to an extreme, and unfortunately, it can ruin somebody's life. Now, the next one, community responsibility. This one is often overlooked, and I see why, because for a lot of people, it doesn't have a direct effect if they're not engaged in their community. But think about it, or better yet, look around. I know in my small town, the fire department is volunteer. This may seem kind of odd to a lot of people, but we actually have volunteers that run a lot of things in our area because we don't have the budget to actually pay for full time. And even larger cities, let's just look when you go to vote, pretty much everyone working there is a volunteer. Gents, I challenge you, seriously, look around. There are so many men out there volunteering their time to make things happen. These volunteers are officiating games. They're doing repairs at no cost. They're stepping into leadership roles on their school board because they understand the importance of taking community responsibility. Gents, that is the mark of a man. The dad bod is sexy. That is a bunch of bullshit. And even if to a small group of people it is sexy, are you happy with that body? And I'm not saying you got to have 6-pack abs. 20 pounds around the midsection, maybe not so bad, but 50 pounds plus. Guys, all of a sudden you're running into health issues. Now, as most of you guys know, there are 2 parts to getting back into shape. And the most important part is not going to the gym. I mean, don't get me wrong, the gym's important, but gents, you cannot outrun a bad diet. And this is why most men can't lose weight. They can't put on muscle because they don't understand that they need to change the food that they're putting into their bodies. Let's talk about reading labels. So the other day I'm in the store and I'm looking just simply for some barbecue sauce. You start reading the back of this, pretty much every barbecue sauce I looked at had high fructose corn syrup. Now, if you don't know what that is, look it up. But it really shouldn't be in barbecue sauce because it doesn't add to the flavor. It just makes you fat. And that's the thing, gents. You got to take responsibility for everything that goes into your mouth. And the earlier you start, the easier it is. Yes, I know in your early 20s, you're active, you've got a great metabolism, but by the time you're in your late 20s, definitely by the time you're in your 30s, it's going to show if you aren't watching your diet. And right with that, I'm going to say stop drinking soda. There's really no benefit. Maybe treat yourself once a month, once every 2 months. View it as what it is, dessert. I remember the aha moment came to me when I saw this ad. It was Coke being poured into a glass, and as it hit that glass, it turned into liquid fat. That led me researching how much sugar is in a single bottle of Coke and realizing, yeah, I'm basically drinking liquid fat. It's going to do nothing for giving me the body I want to maintain. And right with that, stop drinking alcohol. I know some of you guys are like, Antonio, that's just never going to happen. Here's the deal. How many times have you made great decisions while under the influence? Well, you may have a few. I didn't have any. In fact, the 2 times I was arrested, it was because of public intox, drinking. In one case, I almost died. Yeah, seriously, I used to climb radio communication towers, and when I got drunk one night, I was 22. I was back from Marine Corps training. I thought it would be smart to climb this tower out next to the bar, and yeah, the police couldn't get me off, so they called the fire department, and then the police took me right to jail. But before they did, in my mind, I was thinking, man, I could probably just run off this roof, jump, and grab a tree, and I had these crazy ideas of escape in my mind, which looking back, I'm like, I'm so happy I didn't do this because I probably would have died. Oh, and another big advantage to cutting out Pepsi, to cutting out drinking, every time you go out, when you're just drinking water, you are the cheap date. Seriously, gents, I started saving so much money when I cut these drinks out of my diet. Here's the deal, gents. Anybody that says money doesn't buy happiness hasn't given enough away. Seriously, as somebody that grew up without money, I can tell you that having some money makes life so much easier. I mean, you're still going to have problems. When I look at all my problems, for the most part, I can divide them into two camps. There are money issues, and then there are personal issues. Well, if you've got money, it's pretty simple. You can take care of the money issues. Now, the personal issues, yeah, as long as you're dealing with other human beings in your life, you're going to have those no matter how much money you have. But it's nice when you can focus your energy on those and work to develop the skills to be able to overcome them. And speaking of money, live frugally. Live below your means. Save aggressively. There was a time in my early 20s when I had my own apartment, I had a motorcycle, I had a truck, I had student loans, and basically every cent that I earned was accounted for because it was going towards a payment on all of those things. It wasn't until I started talking to one of my fellow lieutenants who was a finance guy, and he said, hey, set this goal for this year and make a game of it. He taught me the importance of looking at interest rates, high is bad, and pay those loans off first. And I quickly learned by looking at my budget that I was spending a lot on food. And if I just cooked more at home and saved a few $100, I could make double payments on the loans and pay them off quicker. Now, let me be clear. I believe hard work is part of the equation, but it's not everything. No, on top of hard work, if you're working for somebody else, you need to develop skills that are going to make you a linchpin. Now, if you're not an engineer, you're not familiar with what a linchpin is, this is the one pin that you could remove and everything would fall down. If you are this in your company, you are essential. Guess what? You're not going anywhere. If you are a salesman, you're a rainmaker. If you are somebody that just simply knows some critical systems, the company, yeah, if they're looking to get rid of you, you just have to bring up the skills that you've got and you're probably going to be okay. That being said, I know it's not always the case. Companies sometimes get rid of people that are essential to their detriment. And that's why I always think you should be looking to work at a place that treats you best. Don't be afraid to move to a company or even move to a country. It's one of the reasons I love immigrants. They go and they find, hey, where am I going to be treated better with my skill set? And if you can't find a company that treats you the way you want to be treated, perhaps you should go start your own business. I know for me, when I looked at the stats of people that had built their own wealth, the vast majority of them were business owners. And to me, it was just, okay, I'll play the odds here and I'll try to start up a business that can reward me and it will treat me the way I want to be treated. On top of that, an essential part of this equation is understanding personal finance. I recommend that you read as many finance books or listen to as many podcasts as it takes for it starting to sound redundant. I know a lot of you guys that complain, Antonio, I watch your videos. You keep seeing the same things about style. Well, guess what? If you're at that point, you've pretty much heard the loop. And at that point, you need to be taking action. So if you're reading finance books and you're like, hey, the majority of this stuff I already know, then it's a matter of actually just implementation. We find ourselves in situations where we're saying yes to all of these things, or they're just falling on our laps and we can't say no to them. Hence, we're overwhelmed. We've got too much on our plates, and really it seems like we're kind of being walked on by other people. Gents, I know this because I used to be that guy. So what changed? How did I stop being a doormat? If I had to boil it down to one thing, I would say it's because I became a more assertive person. Now, in case you're not familiar with the term, assertiveness is a communication style in which an individual expresses their thoughts, feelings, and beliefs in a clear, honest, and respectful manner, while also respecting the rights and opinions of others. It involves being able to stand up for oneself and asserting one's needs and boundaries. At the same time, you listen to others. You're willing to compromise. You're willing to negotiate. You want to help. But first and foremost, an assertive man advocates for himself and his own needs first. So how can you develop an assertive communication style? You want to redefine your relationship with no. You want to become comfortable saying it. And here's the deal. You can be brief. No is a complete sentence. You don't owe people an explanation. Yes, some people will ask for it, most likely your boss, but understand the majority of offers, things that people are asking coming your way, you have the right to be able to say no. I know this sounds so simple, but so many of us are programmed to immediately say yes. We want to help. We want to be that person that steps up. The problem is, if you are constantly saying yes to good, you're not going to have any room in your life for whenever great opportunities come their way. That's what reminds me of. I'm always thinking to myself, you know what? If I say yes to this, I'm going to have to say no to another opportunity that could be so much better for me, so much better for my family. I know for me, time boundaries are pretty important. I've got a bedtime, or at least time I like to go to bed, try to. I've got a time that I wake up in the morning. I've got gym time. I've got certain times that I have for myself and my family, because if I didn't set these time frames, then my work, which can become all consuming. I've got 5 businesses. You can bet that they would come in and eat up my time if I let them. Another boundary is my relationship with alcohol. I've talked about this before, but throughout my family, we've had a number of alcoholics. And I realized in my early 20s, I loved to drink and party. And I got arrested for doing that kind of stuff. So I realized, you know what? This is not the path I want to go down. So I made a deal with myself and my future wife. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give up drinking. I'm going to stop drinking. And I had a very bad incident in Ukraine. Not super bad. I just basically got really drunk in front of her family and threw up on myself. Not the kind of Antonio that I wanted to be. And so I set this boundary of, you know what? I'm just going to give it up. And at the time, it was good also financially because I really couldn't afford to be drinking and spending all this money on alcohol. So it had this positive effect on my bank balance. And I just started to identify as a person that I just don't drink alcohol. And it is something that was tough because I had so many friends that would want to, let's go out and get a drink. Let's meet up at this bar where pretty much everyone is drinking. The key here, though, is to identify and see yourself as this type of person. I just gave it up. I realized that I didn't probably have good genetics for being able to handle alcohol, and that I looked at who's the person that I want to be. And I made the commitment that I was no longer a drinker. I was just somebody that didn't drink alcohol. Let's deal with the issue of you being attacked or pressured into making a decision right now. This happens at work. This happens with family. You're in an event and everyone's trying to get you to commit to, maybe taking this family trip that you know is outside your budget. You honestly don't want to be around a lot of the people. You don't have the best relationship with them, but you're being pressured. You're being pushed into this, this new role at work. Again, extra hours that you don't need, you don't want, and you're not even going to get paid for. Guys, at this point, you can take a few tactics here. First up, you want to respond on your schedule. Delay the decision. Don't feel that you have to make it right now. They may, be pressing on you, but this is something you can say, hey, I need to check with my spouse. I need to go back and look at my calendar. I need to go back and look at our budget. We really need to make sure we can pay for this. You're going to have to be transparent. You're going to be honest. I always find that's the best way. But if you're pretty transparent with your family about, hey, we can't afford this trip, then that is a legitimate reason. Maybe someone's going to step up and pay for you. Then that's a pretty nice family. I don't know why you don't want to hang out with them. Point being, though, is you are giving yourself a bit of distance so you don't have to make the decision right now. I think a lot of young men have been fed a lie that a good life is one that is full of pleasure, that making a lot of money early is all you need to do because it's going to satisfy all your needs. Gents, I got nothing against money, but when it comes to purpose, when it comes to happiness, it isn't going to bring it to you. Now, gents, instead of trying to find yourself, go out there and make yourself. And the way that you build yourself up is you seek challenge. Iron sharpens iron. When you're in your 20s, think of yourself as an uncut diamond. You need the sharp edges of challenge and life to be able to cut you, to shape you into a stone that starts to reveal its brilliance. On top of that, life is going to rub you. Life is going to polish you when you see it that way. And all of a sudden, by your 30s and definitely into your 40s, you are going to start to shine. And don't believe me? Look at history. Example, Hercules and his 12 labors. What would he have been if he hadn't actually gone through those 12 incredibly difficult labors that tested him? According to neuroscientist Gregory Burns, happiness and pleasure are passive emotions. You don't have to do much to achieve those feelings. Satisfaction, on the other hand, is a lot more fulfilling and is really, as human beings, what we actually crave. In fact, Burns concluded that satisfaction requires 2 important ingredients: novelty and challenge, which makes perfect sense because when are you happiest? Whenever you're mastering something new. And remember that happiness is a byproduct from the satisfaction of the hard work and effort you've put in. Check out the book Grit by Angela Duckworth. She actually went to the academies because they wanted to figure out, why do certain people drop out? I don't remember if it was the Naval Academy or West Point. My wife is telling me it was West Point, but they were having an issue trying to figure out, why do people drop out of the first year? And they couldn't pinpoint it to their academics. They couldn't pinpoint it to their physical fitness. In any case, what she discovered is it was all about grit, aka resilience, the ability for these guys to be able to bounce back after failing, after not achieving. If they had great resilience, if they had good grit, if they could keep going and bounce back after failure, they were going to make it. If they couldn't do this, then they would eventually fail out. Gents, being able to bounce back, building up your resilience. And again, this is something that you can learn. This is something you can get better at. This is something you can improve. Guys, this right here is a hallmark of a successful man. What's that old saying? Fall down 7 times, get up 8. That right there, gentlemen, is the mark of a man who's not going to let life beat him. And at the end of his days, he's going to be able to look himself in the mirror and say, you know what? I gave it everything I had. Now, guys, really quick, a lot of guys make a mistake. They think that just watching a video like this on YouTube is somehow going to make them an expert. Straight up, gents, you have to take this information and put it into action. And one of the best ways to motivate yourself to take action is to put yourself in a community, in a group of like-minded warriors, taking steps to improve their image, their presence, their presentation, and you can find all of that over at our community at school.com/RMRS. Over in our school community, we've got detailed classes, we host challenges, and you can meet and engage with like-minded men taking steps on a daily basis to become their best self. So gents, instead of saying someday, how about you say day one and join our community? I'm putting the link down in the description, in the comments, or you can just go directly to school.com/RMRS. You've probably heard that you become the average of the people you surround yourself with. So look to surround yourself with interesting people who have ambition and are going after it. Now, personally, I find people like this by going to conferences, going to events that are around my passions, YouTube being one. I was just at Vid Summit down in Dallas, Texas. At this event, I met up with over 50 YouTubers, half of them people I never met before, the other half old friends I just further connected with. And that leads me to the second part of making this work, is set up masterminds or ways that you can stay in touch. I formalize it a bit with a lot of my business friends by having a weekly time that we get together over a set period. But the key to building new friendships is you have to do the work to build these relationships. Now, that being said, don't forget about your past. You've probably heard the saying, you can't make new old friends. I 100% agree. The people that you knew when you were a kid, when you were in college, when you were just getting started, make sure to stay in touch with those people. If you haven't talked with them for years, find a way to reconnect, especially if you've got fond memories, especially if they were someone you enjoyed spending time with. I've got a habit of when I travel, I go through the phone numbers in my phone. I just call 5 to 10 people. Some of them pick up, some of them don't. I always leave a nice message, but I found by doing this, I've been able to stay in touch with people for over 30 years. Now, what about relationships that bring you down? Toxic relationships, relationships with stupid people. And if you don't know what I'm talking about when I refer to stupid people, check out this book right here, freaking amazing. But people that are bringing you down consistently that aren't family, you need to cut them off. And your family that's bringing you down, you need to set hard boundaries. Because if you're in your 20s, you got to understand your environment matters. And unfortunately, those toxic relationships can hold you back from your full potential. And even, yes, if you have to hire a coach, think about whenever you played sports. Were you able to get to that level by yourself? No, it really helped when you had someone watching, somebody helping to correct your form. And the same can apply to your career. If you're in sales, okay, do you need to find a sales coach? Somebody that can show you quickly how to improve your technique so that you can double the amount you're earning in a relatively short amount of time. I know in my case, personally, I've hired coaches because they give me perspective as well. I really appreciate someone that's 20 to 30 years ahead of me, or someone that has worked with people that are farther along with me so that they can tell me, I'm my coach, Randy Haken, he's basically out of the Silicon Valley. This guy kid coached Jerry Yang, former CEO of Yahoo. So I was paying this guy a lot of money. Why? Because he was giving me insights and he was helping me see things that I was completely blind to. He shared with me his perspective, and because I respected him, it was incredibly valuable. And finally, start thinking about your vivid vision. Where do you want to be in 3 years? What's something you want to accomplish in 5? Maybe you don't even have to write it out. I like to just print out pictures and have those visuals. A picture says 1,000 words. And don't feel self-conscious if some of this is material. Other things, maybe it's going to be travel. Maybe it's just something personally you want for yourself, for your body, for your mind, whatever it may be. Just have a vision of it and print it out, write it out, have it someplace that you can see it. And gentlemen, I know so many of you guys have gone through tough times. You've lost your identity. You've lost your sense of purpose. I want to hear how you are overcoming it. Let me know in the comments below, what advice would you give? Now, gents, if you enjoyed today's video, you are going to love this video. Boom, right here. Check it out. It is a solid video. I promise I don't repeat what I covered in this video, but I cover a similar topic, and I think you'll enjoy it. So yeah, check it out, guys. Solid video. Come on, click. I can't hold this up forever. Come on. What are you waiting for?